If you've ever wondered why dating in 2025 feels like a game you're constantly losing, this is why. Yup, Love Island is why you can't maintain a relationship. You think I'm joking. No, I'm dead serious that Love Island is exactly how people act in real life. The thing you're really missing about Love Island is it's the world's most viral dating experiment. This is a social experiment revealing dating patterns that are happening right now in your life. This is exactly why true love in a world of splitting the bills and situationships and all of these viral little terms we've come to know seems impossible. And yes, I want to talk about it. We're gonna be going underneath the surface and deep diving into the iceberg of Love Island and what it truly means about dating in 2025. Now listen, if you've never watched Love Island in your life, it's a pretty simple concept. They basically take 6 men and 6 women, they fly them out to Fiji, and they have a house that they live in for 6 weeks, and the goal is to find love. Now obviously it's a game show. It's not like they just find love and then they relax on an island. No, producers strategically drop in new islanders or bombshells into the villa in order to test those so-called connections. Spoiler alert, most of them fail, and this episode is going to be filled with all types of spoilers. But if you're new here, hello everyone, my name is Natalie and welcome back to No BS Nat. This is where pop culture meets self-awareness and where we can dissect whatever mess is going on right now, because I feel like there's so many conversations that get left out, including ones about being a girl's girl. What does this even mean? Something that I literally cannot stand in this new season of Love Island is everyone claims to be a girl's girl, but no actions are actually being a girl's girl. Also, it's like the concept itself is just kind of ridiculous. The term girl's girl has become such a weaponized thing, and it honestly doesn't even make any sense anymore. But first off, let's give a little context and talk about what went down with Jeremiah, Huda, Chelley, and the rest of the villa. So during the early days of season 7, Huda and Jeremiah coupled up, and they were kind of fast-tracking their connection. So they became locked in really fast, and although they weren't closed off officially, they acted closed off during challenges because Love Island is a game at the end of the day, but their chemistry was undeniable up until the point where truth started to come out. Jeremiah was really possessive early on, Huda hid the fact that she had a child at first, and Huda ended up having a crash out.
Fuck you.
Oh, she just flipped somebody off.
He's over here playing victim. You're a... Like, fuck you.
But let's take personal accountability here. I hear this term a lot when it comes to love bombing. You know, he love bombed me, I didn't know what was going on, but you can't be susceptible to love bombing unless you are open to the idea that this person is portraying themselves as who you think they are. Listen, I'm just gonna say it, when you meet someone romantically or platonically, you're not actually seeing who they are, you're seeing what they want you to see them as. They are performing as the best version of themselves, or at least they should be, right? Because they want to make a good impression on you, they want to impress you. You're not really seeing the depths of who they are, and that's for anybody. That doesn't mean it's love bombing, it just means you need to be cautious. Now on this island, it's very difficult for people to be cautious because fast tracking love is the producer's way of creating drama. Aside from that, to get back to the girls girl conversation, I noticed Chelley, Sierra, Olandria, all of these girls were almost enabling Huda's poor behavior because she did have a crash out. A lot of people remember Huda's crash out as being a little bit excessive, but those who witnessed her erratic behavior didn't really say something up front to her. For example, when she was crashing out, the only thing people said was, your feelings are validated, right? But if your friend is in the moment having a crash out, maybe the girls were scared, or maybe it's just me, but if that was my actual friend, I would go up to her and be like, get over here right now, we're going to the bathroom, and then I'd have her crash out in private. I wouldn't allow my friend to embarrass herself like that, and I'd be direct with her about how her behavior isn't okay. I'd validate her feelings, but I'd also be very real with, hey, you can't act this way. And again, the point of Love Island is drama, but I noticed comparing this season to last season, season 6, the girls in season 6 had a lot more of a sisterhood. They would step up and stand up for each other, even if their friend was in the wrong. The PPG girls, or Leah, Serena, and Janae, gave us a way clearer picture of what girl code should actually look like in practice. For example, when Rob and Liv were ganging up on Leah and Leah was in the middle of everything and Serena got up and said, we're not gonna gang up on Leah, and started going off at Rob, like, that is what I'm talking about.
Can you just like wake the fuck up?
What?
Oh my god, bro. Hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
That is true girl code, because I also know that in that situation, Leah was in the wrong too, but I'm sure that her friends corrected her in private, but weren't going to stand for someone calling out their name. That is real accountability and sisterhood, whereas this season had none of that. The only time they cared about Huda's poor behavior was when it started affecting their connections. The energy shifted and suddenly she was too much and she was doing a lot during the heartbeat challenge, which for context, there was a challenge where one of the girls, Huda, had a steamy makeout session with Ace, which is Chelley's man. Everyone kisses everyone during challenges, so that challenge being the straw that broke the camel's back, there was obviously some slow burn resentment that was already building up. And the only thing people could say is, oh, Huda, you're not being a girl's girl. You said you were a girl's girl and you're not. And I'm just gonna say it, I'm so tired of the girl's girl thing being weaponized, because let's be real. To me, being a girl's girl isn't about blind validation, it's about standing up for what you know is right and holding someone accountable to poor behavior. Being a girl's girl isn't airing out someone's business just because you're not on good terms with her. If you only support women when it's convenient for you, you are not a girl's girl. Being a girl's girl doesn't even mean you need to be friends with the girl you're being a girl's girl to. Because let's be real, if you're on Love Island, your goal is to make connections. Your goal isn't friends. To shift the conversation away from Love Island for a second, in your own life, how many times have you blamed a girl who started dating your ex, or sent you a hey girly text, or let you know about some type of infidelity that your man was doing? How many times have you blamed that girl? Oftentimes, this is why so many women are scared to come to other women about things that they see. It's because as women, we lack holding men accountable when they do wrong. It's too painful for us to acknowledge that we chose the wrong partner than it is to actually understand that it's not the woman's fault, and at the end of the day, you didn't deserve to be treated like that. I don't know, I felt like someone out there needed to hear that, but how many times have you steered away from telling your friend the cold hard truth just because you felt like she wasn't going to receive it well? That is not being a true friend. In my opinion, being a real friend is holding your friends accountable to poor behavior, even when it's hard, even when they might not like you for it. And what I think this really goes down to in Love Island is everyone this season is way too aware of the cameras. Maintaining friendships and relationships in general isn't just about what you do, it's about what you don't do. It's about the things you don't say. It's about all the times that you don't stick up for your friend who you say is your friend. If you only care about your friends when you're tagging them in an Instagram post, do you actually really care about them? Nobody's actually there for each other. They're all there for a check. Truly, nobody's standing up for each other, but they're quick to comfort one another once the drama is over. Just look at the infamous Stand on Business challenge where the producers had to get the cast talking because so many people were walking on eggshells. Everyone was calculated, cautious, and barely authentic, except for my girl Amaya. The one thing about my girl Amaya Papaya, she always remains unapologetically herself, and I feel like so many women see themselves in her, and that's why I just feel like it's so authentic.
I never said I was perfect.
She was real with her emotions, she put herself out there, and every single time she got rejected, she said, well, maybe I'm just not for you. Maybe I'm not the tea you need to be drinking. But she was quickly labeled as too much because literally everyone was dumbing down their personalities in order to be liked by America. The whole time, everyone loved Amaya because she was trying to be herself. It's so funny to me when people go on Love Island and assume that they could just like trick the audience into believing that that's who they are. Like, no babe, we're actually smart and we can see through your whole facade. But anyways, during the Stand on Business challenge, everyone was coming for Amaya's neck. The only person who stood up for Amaya was Brian, who wasn't even her connection at the time, and then people ran after her when she went to go cry to comfort her, and I just think that's ridiculous. Not one of her friends stood up and started talking back to the guys who were saying that she was too much and she was too emotional. Absolutely not. Even in season 6, I don't even feel like they would do that. Like, imagine someone saying something to Leah, like Serena or Janae would say something to them and be like, oh, you want to talk about my girl? Let's go. And that's what I love about last season. But this season, because Love Island went mega viral, everyone wants to try to make their little viral moments and nobody actually cares. And this happens all the time in the real world dating scene. For example, something that always goes around is the idea of everyone's a 10. Can we be real for a second? Being a 10 in looks does not mean you're a 10 in emotional intelligence, and doesn't mean that you're compatible with everyone. And Amaya is a perfect example of that. She's a 10, but she's not everyone's 10. Attraction is purely subjective, and not everyone is going to understand your customs, your culture, what you've come from. But at the end of the day, your character is really what makes or breaks you. You can be beautiful, but if you're mean, passive aggressive, performative, racist, which for some reason this cast has a problem with, you go from a 10 to a 2 real fast. You are not a 10 just for existing. I'm sorry, I'm the only woman to say it, but I swear everyone gets on these podcasts and talks about they're a 10, but they don't even know what they provide to a real relationship. You need to know who you are, since a man has to work on himself, and it's such a normalized thing for people to say, oh, go get your money up, go do this. But then when it comes to women, we can't say, okay, a woman needs to work on her emotional intelligence. We need to know how to say certain things, and we need to control our emotions because it can make or break us in this scenario. Another hot take of mine, I feel like Huda and Jeremiah could have worked out if Huda didn't react off of her emotions. If they had a deep conversation about what was bothering her and Jeremiah didn't allow other people's opinions to get into their head, I think that they could have worked things out, because it's natural for people to have emotions in relationships and not necessarily do everything right all the time. There's going to be times if you get into a relationship where you guys don't see eye to eye, but accountability is the biggest thing. And so much of this season of Love Island lacks accountability, and so much of the dating world in 2025 lacks accountability and emotional intelligence. I see so many posts online of people justifying cheating or dishonest behavior, and if one person doing you bad makes you turn into a horrible person, someone hurting you has fundamentally tainted your character, and it is now your problem to deal with, and now you're causing that harm to the other person. You cannot control how another person treats you. All you can do is let people be themselves and remove yourself when you are not valued. That's for men, that's for women, that's for everyone. But so many people don't understand that, and they will blame society. They'll say, oh, all men cheat, all women cheat, all women are gold diggers. You guys sound crazy. Have you ever thought that maybe it's your belief that's attracting these negative people into your life? Have you ever thought, wow, maybe if I change my belief and I know the type of person I am, I will actually repel negative people because I know my boundaries, and I know I don't need to bring myself down in order to be valued, because a person who's up here at the same exact level with you will understand you. You can be a 10 in looks all day, but if you are not an emotionally intelligent woman, you will never have a fulfilling relationship. I say that as someone who has seen through my own parents divorce after divorce after divorce. Both of my parents just couldn't figure each other out. They couldn't see eye to eye because they were too in their ego. And love isn't enough at the end of the day. You both need to be able and willing. And that's the main reason I have so much empathy for Amaya, because I feel like she grew so much, even recognizing that, hey, are you okay with being called babe? Can I call you this? Because her past connection, Ace, didn't like when she called him babe, when that's more so a part of her culture. That's just kind of who she is. They clashed on those things. But for the other connections, she brought that and asked them what their boundaries are. She learned from her experiences. And as a person, you need to be able to learn from every single dating experience you have, or else you'll constantly be attracting the same exact type of person in your life. And you'll sit there and wonder, well, why does this pattern keep happening? Like, why do I keep attracting these emotionally unavailable men? Why do I keep attracting these emotionally unintelligent women? Why do I keep attracting someone who doesn't respect me or doesn't talk to me like I matter? Talk to yourself like you matter, because you do. You matter, and your opinions matter, but you need to stand up for your opinions, just as Amaya did. She let people know who she was. She never compromised her authenticity in order to be loved. And if people left her life, she was okay with it. She was a master at detachment. Did it hurt? Did it suck? Yes. But she knew what she was looking for, and that's what I need you to adopt. That is the mindset I need you to think about when you think about Love Island. You need to observe these people and go, wow, that situation happened in my life too. What can I learn from it? Or what can I learn from these other people? Instead of bullying people on the internet, instead of saying, I would have never acted like Huda. You've definitely been in a situation before where you wanted to crash out over a man. It's just having the awareness and empathy to grow from those scenarios. The next thing I really want to talk about is the Nick, Sierra, and Olandria situation. And listen, everyone has been in a situation, maybe you haven't, but I feel like a lot of girls have been in a situation where their best friends ends up dating their man. And listen, we're not gonna talk about the whole Sierra cancellation on the internet thing, but Nick is the textbook emotionally unavailable guy that so many of you girls get your head wrapped up over. Nick is painfully nonchalant to the point where you don't even know if he likes you or not, and he's willing to go for pretty much anyone or anything that gives him an ounce of attention. This is most young men nowadays, and it has absolutely nothing to do with your value or worth as a woman, because a lot of people will deal with a guy like Nick who gives attention to pretty much anyone, and as soon as Nick just continues to do him, or you find out about what Nick is doing, you will be extremely torn up about it. Listen, ladies, if a man's attention is so easy to sway, you do not want attention from that man. Most men don't have a commitment problem nowadays. They have a lust problem that turns into a commitment problem. I mean, just think about it. Back in the day, a man used to have to impress a woman. He had to take her out, he had to go do something with her, give her gifts. He actually had to put in a little bit of effort to cheat. But nowadays, men have access to women just by going on dating apps and swiping a few times, especially if that man is attractive. Stay with me here. This is why a man will go cold and then pop up 4 months later and go, I miss you so much, because you'll still respond. Back in the day, there wasn't text message, there wasn't any of that. If you as a woman picked up a phone call on your parents' home phone and heard, hey, it's Nick, I want to talk, you'd go, oh my god, ew, and hang up the phone. But nowadays, a man can send you a you up text and you're gonna respond, or your ex can pop up out of nowhere and go, I miss the connection we had, and you'll meet him in person. I need you guys to think about this, right? Men used to actually have to earn attention from us, but nowadays our attention is given to pretty much anything, to where men like Nick exist because we are allowing them to exist. We are still giving them our attention, and at any point they will go and they will backdoor us with your best friend. Now at the end of the day, it's Love Island. I don't blame Olandria, but Olandria did say that Sierra was her homegirl. All I'm gonna say is Sierra is going to have a very rude awakening once she gets out of the villa for many different reasons, but I think the main one is your friend was never really your friend. She downplayed the fact that they did more than just have a kiss exploring. They made out, and now they're back with each other. Nick showed all of these signs from the beginning, and if you're dealing with a man like Nick, just know he's never going to change. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I believe hypergamy is a very big aspect about how women date in society. Now, if you don't know what hypergamy is, it's the idea that women tend to date men of higher status and truly desire a man who is wanted. Now, I think a lot of weirdos on the internet want to spin it into a lot of weird things, and it's more of a misogynistic talking point. I'm not doing that. I do think for most women, we want a man who we know is going to provide for us at the end of the day when we decide to have children, a family, and that's very normal. But I also think that this desire that women have to date a man of higher status clouds our judgment sometimes, and that's exactly what happened with Chelley. For some context, Huda and Chris coupled up when they got back from Casa Amor. Casa Amor is the biggest test for these islanders. They take the women, they take the men, they separate them, and they give them completely new connections to try for 3 days. They do challenges together, they kiss one another, they have chats, the entire thing. Huda told Chelley that basically she wanted to explore the connection with Chris, and Chelley was also exploring that connection with Chris. Now, this is just a theory. I believe that there was a conversation off camera where Huda and Chelley also talked about how there was more of a plan, basically so that both of them could continue to see Chris, and Chelley didn't have to jeopardize her connection with Ace once she got back to the villa. She had to pick one during the coupling. I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I believe that Chris was also in on this plan because he mentioned something about a plan during the Stand on Business challenge. So I do think there was some type of conversation off camera where Chris's intentions were to go after Chelley, but Chelley wasn't giving him that attention back. This is where we get into my hot take. I believe that Chelley was more into Chris than Ace. I know, it might be a little crazy for me to say, but I think this because Ace is 22 and Chelley is 27. Chris is also 27, so they're both the same exact age. A lot of women, when it comes to dating younger men, experience a lot of different problems because a man isn't going to be as emotionally mature when he's 22 versus when he's 27. Like, that's a big difference. Chelley really wanted Chris because Chris was her exact type on paper. Chris is a very attractive man. He's like 6'7", plays basketball. And so I believe that Chris triggered Chelley's hypergamy in this sense, and that is why she didn't want to close off the connection. It's also why there was such a big tension between Huda and Chelley, because from Chelley's perspective, Huda always wants to take her man. Something I observed is I feel like a lot of the women want to play it safe when it comes to their public image, so they won't just choose who they want. They want to make sure that they're seen in a good light when they're making a decision that might harm other people. And it's the opposite when it comes to men. For example, Olandria decided to save Taylor. Olandria chose Taylor over Jalen when they were all getting coupled up, and she expected the same exact thing when it came to Taylor and her. When Taylor ended up choosing Clark, she got really mad because she sacrificed her own connections for him, to which Taylor responded, "I'm not moving for you, I'm moving for me." And I think that was a very big eye-opener for me, because sometimes as women we put other people before us and don't consider our own feelings when it comes to making certain decisions. We more so care about looking the part instead of actually doing what's best for us, whereas men sometimes just make decisions more so on a whim and don't care about who it's impacting. And I think something that I'm taking from watching Love Island is I need to make whatever decision that I want, regardless of if I'm seen as a bad person. That doesn't mean be selfish with who I am and what I do, but that does mean to be intentional with our dating decisions, because at the end of the day, who cares if a man calls you a gold digger because you don't want to go out to Wendy's on the first date? You get what I'm saying? Just because you can't meet the standard doesn't mean you have to hate me for it. Wanting reciprocation, wanting princess treatment, wanting these things is not inherently a bad thing. So ladies, don't drop your standards for a man, and don't ever let a man tell you that he doesn't want you twice. Detachment isn't being bitter. It's learning when to walk away and knowing your worth. With that being said, besties, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of No BS Nat. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this series. I love you guys so much, and my question for you is, what did you learn from this dating experiment? Because Love Island isn't just a dating show, it's an experiment where we get to see human behavior. I hope you loved watching this video as much as I loved making it. If you loved it, please be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and share this video to one of your friends who needs it. Bye, you guys.